Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So Jermall Charlo, he gets a unanimous decision win over Brandon Adams in a fight where he pretty much won every single round. But I give credit to Brandon Adams because he had a good game plan. He was a much shorter fighter. He was trying to smother everything that Jermall Charlo was throwing by staying close to Jermall, which is why Jermall Charlo couldn't get the knockout. Jermall, he was trying to get the knockout the whole night. But once again, Brandon Adams, he was focused on not getting knocked out. Not saying he came in to survive, but he just made sure he didn't get caught with something that would knock him out. Although he did show a good chin when he got caught with some shots, because he did get caught with a couple good uppercuts. But overall, Jermall Charlo, he put on a great performance. Whenever Brandon did get on the inside and back Jermall up to the ropes, Jermall was comfortable no matter where he was in the ring. He fought off the ropes and he backed up Brandon. Even though a lot of the shots weren't landing cleanly on Brandon Adams, because Adams, he was displaying some great defense, Jermall Charlo was definitely punching with a lot of power. I mean, you could just hear the thud and punches that he was throwing. So there's no doubt about it, Jermall Charlo is one of the hardest punchers in the middleweight division. And now it's more official than ever before that Jermall Charlo is the most feared middleweight in the division, especially to Team Canelo and the WBC president. Because Canelo Alvarez, he just surrendered his WBC belt and gave it to Jermall Charlo so he didn't have to fight him. I mean, let's call this what it is, guys. Canelo Alvarez is no longer the WBC champion. That WBC franchise belt, that was nothing but a cover-up to help Canelo Alvarez save face from vacating the belt. They didn't want it to look so obvious that he gave up the belt to avoid Jermall Charlo. Because let me tell you something, whenever you have a belt that other people cannot fight for, they can't challenge and take your belt, the top middleweights, they can't line up and become a #1 contender to fight for the belt, that means you don't have a belt if they can't fight for it. We know that the WBC, they come up with new belts every other month. And this was just another made up belt. It was basically like a lifetime achievement award. That's pretty much what it was. But at the end of the day, make no mistake about it, Canelo Alvarez, he gave up his belt and he is no longer the WBC champion. He gave up his belt to avoid Jermall Charlo. Now, hopefully, Canelo Alvarez, he ends up getting enough courage to fight Jermall Charlo eventually. You know, before this all happened, I had told you guys on many occasions that I truly believe Canelo was going to fight Jermall in the future. But now that he vacated his belt, I don't know if he'll ever fight Jermall Charlo. Of course, there's talks that Canelo may fight against Kovalev or Demetrius Andrade, which are all great fights. But Canelo, he's still going to have Jermall Charlo problems. You know, Charlo, he said something pretty interesting when he found out about this franchise belt. He said, okay, well now I'll fight Canelo. He said, I want to take Canelo's franchise belt. So he says basically he's still going after Canelo. And it was funny because you had a lot of fans and media members that were saying, I don't know why he keeps going after Canelo. Even if he were to fight Canelo, he's not going to win the franchise belt. You guys are missing the point. It's no longer really about the belt. It's about using that as an excuse to get Canelo Alvarez in the ring. Charlo and the boxing fans, they're not going to care about the franchise belt if Jermall were to get Canelo in the ring, right? Charlo just wants to get this man in the ring. It's funny how some of these Canelo Alvarez fans, they'll sit over here and say, Jermall Charlo, he hasn't fought anyone. You guys don't realize the more you try to defend Canelo, the more you guys hurt him. Because that excuse, it makes no sense at all. If Jermall Charlo hasn't fought anyone, why would Canelo Alvarez give up his belt to avoid someone who hasn't fought anyone? We already know Canelo Alvarez has beat tons of fighters who hasn't fought anyone. Why is he giving up his belt for this guy in particular who you say hasn't fought anyone? That's a rhetorical question, guys. You guys want to protect Canelo Alvarez, but at the same time, try to discredit Charlo. But actions speak louder than words. And what Canelo Alvarez is doing right now, it shows that he has more respect for Jermall Charlo than any other fighter in the middleweight division. That's what his action shows. And like I said before, you can blame this partially on WBC, but you also have to blame this on Canelo Alvarez, because Canelo Alvarez has a say-so on if he wants to keep his WBC belt or not, if he wants to vacate it or not. The WBC, they didn't just call Canelo and say, hey man, we're taking your WBC belt and we're giving it to Jermall Charlo. That's not how it went down. Canelo had to agree to this, okay? With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.